Update: I saw my father in SM for the first time since she attacked my child, by user Drujibuki42. Previous update. I didn't plan on updating again before the wedding, but something pretty huge happened. The good news is we got the RO. The bad news is me and Jane had to see both SM and my father at the court hearing. This was our first time seeing them since we kicked them out of our house over a month ago, and neither of us were looking forward to it. We left the kids with Jane's brother and Sil, so at least Luke didn't have to see them. The hearing itself went a lot quicker than I expected. I'll give credit where it's due, my father was, at the very least, smart enough to understand there was no way they were winning this. There was a lot of evidence against them. Not only did we have the nanny cam footage and Luke's pictures and medical record, but my sister had also gathered every text and email SM had sent her and the family about what happened. And SM hates speaking on the phone, so there were a lot of those. They didn't even bother to get an attorney for the hearing. The judge granted us a protection order against SM. She's not allowed within 500 feet of us or our property anymore. We're changing all our locks this week, and I'm thinking about changing my phone number as well. I have to admit, the moment we left the courthouse was the safest I'd felt since this whole ordeal started. Jane was close to tearing up with joy when we got to the car. We picked up the kids and went to McDonald's with Bill and his family to celebrate. Hours later, my father called me. The order doesn't extend to him, so he can still do that. Jane and the kids were in bed, so I answered. I didn't expect him to change his mind and apologize all of a sudden, but decided to give him one last chance. He tried to start some awkward small talk, but I told him to get to the point. He asked me if the order was truly necessary. I stated, very clearly, that SM was never coming near Jane or my children again, and that I was glad I had an RO to formalize that. Every excuse he had for SM was pretty easy to shut down. But she only hit him once. Yep, and that's enough for me. The kids need their grandma. She's not their grandma, Mom is. She's my wife. You need to respect her. She attacked Luke. She disrespected my family in my own house. I don't owe her anything, least of all my respect. He then went on a rant about family, how much of a godsend SM was and everything she'd done for me and my sister since she came into our lives. I replied by listing every time I could remember about her lying, overstepping a boundary or acting unhinged around me, my family or my sister. I brought up both my adult life and my youth. Examples included her attempts to hijack most of our milestones, recently, our wedding plans, our son's birth, Jane's baby shower and my sister's college graduation, her obsession with the idea of a perfect family and her disgusting attitude towards Luke. I also made sure to mention her habits of going through mine and my sister's stuff when we were younger. It's trivial, compared to everything else, but this behavior went on until my sister moved out of their house, only 3 months ago. We're pretty sure she found out about Jane's wedding dress appointments by reading my sister's planner while she wasn't home, for instance. Some of the memories I mentioned are long and hard to explain, but they did cement the fact that SM means nothing to me. He tried to go with the whole she doesn't feel included excuse again, but I shut him up. I said he'd had the opportunity to protect his grandchildren, but had chosen his monster of a wife instead, and that's enough for me to want nothing to do with him. I hung up without saying goodbye. My sister told me he called her afterwards, and she told him she was going NC with him as well. I think we're both starting to accept our father won't change. It sucks, but he's made his priorities clear, and his children and grandkids aren't among them. For now, that's it. Now that they're fresh in my mind, I'm thinking about sharing some of the stories I reminded my father of, but that's gonna take a while. Until then, as always, best wishes to all of you. Entitled House Cleaner Brings Her Children, Children Trash My Home, by user Abysmal Rotoscoping. Gotta put this out here. Most absurd EP situation I've personally encountered. My husband and I looked to hire a local husband and wife small business to clean and do maintenance projects on our house before our baby comes in a few weeks. They came by tonight to take a look at the projects and surprise. Brought their 3 elementary-aged children. No biggie, I thought, not ideal, but I like children and like the idea of our home being a welcoming place for them. We'll let it go. We opened the door and the children scattered, all 3 took off screaming in a different direction with their shoes on. One ended up in my bedroom and 2 on different ends of the living room where they all 3 started pulling my daughter's carefully organized, orderly toys off the shelves at an extremely rapid pace. Well, they sure made themselves at home, the mom beamed. They sure love your house. I tried to orient the parents quickly so they would leave ASAP, and the oldest child noticed our loft, which is our playroom/library and is also carefully organized and decorated with love with various handcrafted elements, and they all raced upstairs. We have 4 kids of our own but manage to mostly keep things orderly. Each toy has a place. We have some small and breakable pieces from my and my husband's childhood. All the books are shelved alphabetically in categories. All 3 children started shrieking at the sight of the room. I was trying to wrap up discussion with the mom. Then the stomping started and the clanging. Sounded like jumping off furniture. I paused for the mom to say something but she didn't even bat an eyelash. Then came a crash that could only have been furniture falling over. Mom again didn't so much as comment. My husband ran upstairs, alarmed. The youngest one, 4 maybe, then raced down needing to go potty urgently. 3 of our 4 bathrooms need service, which is why we were hiring these people, so the only bathroom available was our master bath, where we have chicks in an incubator. As I showed the child where to go, she got distracted by the chicks and screamed to the older kids upstairs to come and see now. So the older 2 came barreling and yelling, shoes on, through my bedroom and bathroom, and the small one didn't quite make it to the toilet in the excitement. This all happened in the like 15 minutes. I thought we'd be quickly introducing the adult contractors to the projects and negotiating pay. This was bizarre and horrible, I thought, but we'll just have them do the job tomorrow and not work with them again. But then 2 of the kids started to tantrum when it was time for them to leave, notably without putting away a single toy they had disassembled and strewn about. Mom says, "It's okay. We'll be back so you can play more with them tomorrow." WTF. She was expecting to bring the children and leave them unsupervised in my home, or maybe she expected me to provide childcare, while she performed tasks clearly unsafe for children in closed-off rooms for 7 hours. Of course we are cancelling. I'm almost too shocked to even be upset. I just checked upstairs and found a shelf of books partially toppled. Every toy in the living room is in pieces on the floor. Pee is not in the toilet. It happened so fast, I just can't. What? Entitled Kid and Parent at the Mario Movie, no spoilers by Yuzuru Ramashihouasuk. This happened a few weeks ago, when the movie first came out. I went to go see the new Mario movie, as I was really hyped for it as I am a pretty big Mario fan. It was pretty good imo, and to celebrate, I decided to go dressed as Mario. It wasn't a really good cosplay, as I just threw on some old blue overalls, a red long-sleeved shirt, a replica of Mario's hat I bought at the Nintendo store in NYC, and some work gloves. I even brought a plush super mushroom that my late aunt bought for me in China. Anyways, I got to the theater, paid for my ticket, and got my snacks, a large bag of popcorn, some candy bars and a blue raspberry slushie. However, the movie didn't start until 1.5 hours, so I just hung out in the small arcade they had there. While I was there was also a little boy with his mom, and he kept eyeing me and got all excited. Keeping with the Mario theme, let's call the mom Bowsette and the kid Bowser Jr. Bowser Jr., Mommy, look, it's Mario. Bowsette, yes I know. Bowser Jr., can I see him? Bowsette, fine. So Bowser Jr. runs up to Mario and that is when he sees my mushroom. Bowser Jr., wow, a mushroom, can I have it? Me, sorry, this mushroom means a lot to me. Bowser Jr., but you don't need it. Me, yes I do. Bowsette sees Bowser Jr. arguing with me, and stomps on over there. Bowsette, give him the toy. Me, sorry, I can't just give it to him, as it means a lot to me. Bowsette, just give him the toy. Me, sorry, can't do. Bowsette, but you don't need it, you're too old for it. After she said that, I just ignored them, and grabbed my snacks and went to sit in the auditorium where the movie was playing. Shortly later they walked in and sat on the row in front of mine, and throughout the movie, Bowsette kept giving me the evil eye, but I just ignored her. I guess they forgot about me because when the movie finished, they walked out of the room without looking at me, and after that, I never saw them again. Still enjoyed the movie, and if you are wondering about the mushroom, it's chilling right next to me on my bed as I'm writing this post. Dad continues his controlling ways and now has no contact with both of his sons, by user Ramanoodle 620. TL, Dr. Dad is a selfish, angry, and controlling individual. Gets into arguments with his sons, and plenty of other people, because they won't live exactly how he wants or do exactly what he wants. Is surprised when they stop speaking to him. Continues to believe he is the victim. Background. My dad has always had control and anger issues. He worked hard to give my mom, brother, and I what we needed, but he was not really emotionally there. Growing up with him was tough. If I vacuumed and did not do it exactly how he would do it, he would make comments. If you did something wrong once, he would immediately say you never do anything right. Could not fathom that people make mistakes and mistakes happen. Especially since he made plenty of them. Just never admitted to it. He had friends and relatives live with us without ever asking my mom, brother, or I if we would be okay with it. Not asking my mom, who is the person that ends up taking on the additional work, was the most annoying thing for me. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. I was okay sharing a room with my brother. Not quite okay sharing it with an uncle for years, another relative, and once even some random guy who was a friend of a friend. He sacrificed the comfort of me, my mom and my brother to make himself look good by offering space to these people for long periods of time, think years, not days. Plenty more examples of his selfish and controlling behavior. Not to mention him having a short fuse. Despite all this, he did work hard, had his moments, and I will always appreciate the things he did do. We had everything we needed. First son goes NC. A couple of summers ago, my dad and I got into an argument. Argument was over me and my wife's dog. My dad is a very religious Muslim and has gotten more religious as he ages. For example, he took down all of the pictures they had of people, as you are not supposed to have that in Islam. He still listens to music though, so I don't want to get started on the hypocrisy displayed on a regular basis by him and the Muslim community I grew up in general. Islam is not a fan of dogs being in a home. My wife and I do not live with my parents. We have our own home, and I told my parents my wife and I would be keeping the dog she had before we got into a relationship. I love this dog. I thought I got it through to my dad that the dog was here to stay. I even got an imam to talk to him about it. He brought it up again one day while he was over at our house and asked when we were getting rid of the dog. I tell him we aren't and he needs to stop asking about it. This started a big argument between me and him. He went home and I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. When he got home, my brother was there. He told my brother the story and my brother told him he was wrong to make demands of my wife and I. My dad got into an argument with my brother. It got close to being physical, so my brother left. My brother at the time had his phone service under my parents' family plan. My dad cancelled his number, so I had to call the phone company. I have access since I'm the one who usually manages issues for him. My dad would then cancel the service again. Being real petty. I eventually just added my brother to my phone plan. After this incident, my brother went no contact with both of our parents. This was the last straw for him. He went no contact with our mom because she is an enabler. That requires a different post. To this day, my dad still does not understand why my brother is no longer in contact with him. I understood my brother's decision and have not tried to change his mind. I stayed in contact with my dad, but low contact. Second son goes NC. Now to a couple of weeks ago. My dad and I once again got into an argument. My wife and I have a newborn. I was so excited for my parents to have their first grandchild. As much of an ass my dad is and has been, I've seen how well he interacts with my little cousins, and I incorrectly thought being a grandparent may mellow him down. I figured there would be some disagreements, as a lot of grandparents think since they raised kids, they know exactly what to do. Even if they raised those kids 25 plus years ago. Unfortunately, his controlling ways and anger issues reared their ugly head in a bad way. We were over at my parents' so they could see my newborn son, and because 2 of my cousins were visiting to see my newborn son as well. Things went fine until my wife and I were getting ready to leave. My son was being a bit fussy as we were putting him into the car seat. That happens. Babies get fussy and cry a bit. Once we get the car seat in the car and get going, he normally calms down. If he didn't, we would just give him a bottle as he was probably hungry. We had already changed and burped him at this point. My dad starts saying we should give him gripe water. I tell my dad that the baby is fine, just being a bit fussy. My dad insists again, so I tell him I'm not giving him gripe water. We asked our pediatrician about it and our pediatrician said to hold off on gripe water since our baby was still pretty small. Our son was born almost 3 weeks early and is very small, so we are being cautious. We also don't want to give him anything besides breast milk and formula if it's not really necessary, which it was not in this case. This sets my dad off. He goes off about what the fuck do doctors know. He raised 2 kids. He gave my brother gripe water when he was 2 days old. That is obviously bullshit because he didn't even know about gripe water until he visited one of his friends and they told him about it. Not only that, but my brother was born late and at a normal weight. His situation is not the same as my son's. My dad then does his usual thing of taking one issue, escalating it and going off about everything. He goes on to say don't come around anymore even with the baby. Calls me a kafir, my wife a kafir and my son a kafir. This is an Islamic insult. My mom is trying to calm him down because he is yelling all of these things 2 feet next to me in the car seat my son is in. My teenage cousins are also hearing all this. At this point, my wife has taken our son out of the apartment and into the hall. I am trying to leave as well, but my dad continues to yell. He has now moved on to how we have not given him a cent, how he got us educated and put us through college for us to never give him anything back, how we basically don't do shit for him and some other things I don't recall exactly. Just a lot of horse shit. I have paid for my parents' cable. Internet bill for the past 12 plus years even though I have not lived with them for years. I just recently paid for their tickets which was about $2,800 to go to our home country and have paid for other random things like ordering them pizza when my cousins are over their house and my mom does not feel like cooking. He says he got us educated, but he did crap like telling us he'd pay for our college and then telling us after a semester that he wouldn't. Basically leaving us in the middle of a semester scrambling. He told my brother he would only pay if he agreed to marry a woman from our country. Understand if he does not want to pay, but tell us that before we decide on a school so we can make an informed decision. He still brags to his friends that he put us through school though. He says we never do shit for him even though both of my parents come to me for legal, tax, finance, tech and basically any issue. Keeping a tally of what you've done for your kids and throwing it in their face is bullshit. Especially when you've basically done a little above the bare minimum. After taking his yelling right in my face, I left and have not spoken to him since. Told my mom we are not speaking to him and he is not seeing us anymore. If he gets some therapy and anger management, maybe we can see what happens. He has to make a change though. Of course, the last time I spoke to my mom, she told me he'd been crying. As usual, he is the victim. Here's to hoping I don't continue this cycle. Am I the unreasonable one for wanting to use my car when I'm home from business trips? By user tit for tat 101. I will say this, I don't think my mom's entitled but rather she had entitled moments. I travel for work, gone weeks to months at a time. I have a car but leave it with my mom because she doesn't have one, and told her she could use it. Side note, she lives with my dad, they are separated and her 2 grandkids which she cares for. I pay the car note and insurance. Whenever I come home I use that time to get things done like doctor's appointments, dentist, hair, stuff like that. I always do my best to let my mom know my schedule and appointments. So here's what happened. Day 2 home, I had no appointments, just wanted to go the gym. My mom told me she had to take my niece to a club during the time I had planned for the gym. That's fine, I understood, so I just went to the gym later. Day 3, had a doctor's appointment along with a tax appointment. Plans were to go the gym, go to doctors, then taxes. I told my mom about my plans, except for the tax thing because that was new and I got the appointment the day before. As I'm leaving for the gym my mom asks if I can drop her off so she can get some blood work done. A little miffed because it was a bit out my way but whatever. I assumed she was going to walk back because the place is within walking distance of the house. As I drop her off she asks if I can pick her up. When I get her turns out the place was too busy, she didn't have an appointment. She asked what I was doing the next day, which I told her I had a hair appointment. She knew this as I've told her before I got home and when I got home. Now she's mad because I need my car to get my stuff done and she can't find a time to get her blood work done. This seems to happen often when I come home where I have to accommodate around her schedule despite the fact that it's my car and I plan things out in advance, and let her know. She ends up getting frustrated and mad which makes me upset too. Seriously, I'm wondering if I'm the unreasonable one in this situation?